Peace, infinite waters, diving deep once again. We have a very special guest. We have Sonia Barrett, who is the author of The Holographic Canvas, The Fusing of Mind and Matter, published in 2008. Her insights are cutting edge, with much of it supported by quantum physics. Sonia Barrett's work bridges the gap between science and spirituality in a simplified format. She addresses the programming, beliefs, and concepts by which we have lived our lives, both individually and collectively. These insights provide clarity in understanding the paradox of both the real and the unreal, the visible and the invisible components of reality. The holographic experience, known for her mind-bending concepts, she stretches the mind even further by going beyond the common view of time. And Sonia is a phenomenal mind. We've reconnected many times before. Find all her work at www.spiritinform.com. She is currently producing her first documentary titled The Business of Disease. Without further ado, welcome Sonia. Thank you for diving with us.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. It always has this feeling of sitting in my living room, or as we used to say in Jamaica, our drawing room, which you guys probably still say that there, but yeah, and chit-chatting. So as it should be fun.
It's always fun when we reconnect, and you're a great inspiration. I was scanning your website and your new article blew me away. The Art of Being Human. And it ended with one beautiful sentence. You are the ultimate timekeeper. That's so powerful right there.
and it was funny because, I don't really write articles that much anymore. I only write them when I feel them, when I'm in the mood for them. So I don't race to write one like every week. I can't commit to those things because then you write from your head. You write something that sounds good. And basically, what was I listening to? I was sitting actually, and I was listening. I forgot, there was a piece of music that was playing, and for whatever reason, the lyrics may have absolutely nothing to do with consciousness. As I have explained before, I could be listening to, something from Earth, Wind, and Fire, which I love. I could be listening to anything, and it just sparks me. So I was sitting at the computer, and I thought, God, I haven't written an article in a while. Boy, would it be nice. I just kept thinking, man, I sure would love to find something from inside me to write an article. And then I was just thinking about a couple of things, and before you know it, I wrote the title. And, I just wrote, The Art of Being Human. So it's not like I sat and figured it out. I'm going to put this together. No, I was sitting there and I was writing it. I was reading it while I was writing it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is where this is going. And so that's kind of basically how I do pretty much everything anyway. So I was very pleased when the article was all done and just read it, and I really liked it, and I felt it for myself. So I'm not saying I liked it from the perspective of, oh, I wrote that article. No, it was the content, and it was just a wonderful reminder for myself. And God, I was just very excited. I can't explain that.
Right. I was excited reading it because it's so packed full of so much inspiration, and it just awakens you to a whole nother level. And you talk of the cosmic game. And for the audience out there, just what do you mean by the cosmic game?
What I mean by the cosmic game, I see everything about reality, obviously, in terms of how we are experiencing reality, all of the dynamics involved, all of the stories and concepts and ideas created around the whole concept of reality, whether it be on the planet Earth itself, or whether it be, just in the solar system. We're just talking about the universe. I see that this is like one giant cosmic game experience, and we're all constantly trying to figure out, the game, where we fit in, what do we do, why are we here, where is this exactly, the science, we're trying to figure all of that out. And I've often observed the whole process of everything we do, and the only thing that ever really comes to me is this amazing divine game on so many levels, that it's happening. But it's the figuring out and the experiencing of the figuring out, just all of it,
Right,
uh,
right.
you know.
Because a lot of times we look around in the information age and we see the grand awakening.
Right.
How did your awakening come about to the cosmic game?
Um, well, in the let's see, I didn't really look at it. I didn't know it from the perspective of, a game in the beginning. When I say in the beginning, I have to go back to uh when I had that major awareness, that trigger. And I always use 1992 because that was truly the year when I decided to, as you say, dive in, to really
Right,
dive in. I'd always felt this way and curious, but really diving in. So I think that it must have been over time, and I don't remember specifically when it hit me, but I do know I have those moments where it's like somebody just drops a brick on my head, and it's like, whoa, wait a second. This is like a giant game. None of this is real. I mean, it is, but it's not. And and so when you look at what science, at this point, has understood, and what they've discovered, again, we're looking at the wave and particle dance. We're looking at the fact of how, there's this appearing and disappearing act that goes on with everything, and you look at it just from that basic standpoint. How can it not be a game? You've got a particle over here when it's being observed. Then when nobody's looking at it, is it even there? Come on now, there's a game. there is a
right,
game here. Yeah, I am observing everything in my reality into being so that I can interact with it. But when I'm not observing certain things, I don't see it. Look at how much we don't see,
right, right.
you know? So
Definitely.
then, yeah, then suddenly you have these moments of extreme awakening, an alertness, something that allows the brain to go, you know what? We're gonna let you see more. We're gonna let you see this other aspect. And so so I view it as this dynamic game where I'm learning, and I'm remembering, and I'm a part of a personal evolution, and I get to see more of what's possible in the game experience the more I become aware, and awakened.
I say once you change your own vibrational frequency, everything aligns to that same frequency. And I took from you, we are the architects of our own reality. And I love that.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing how our beliefs are creating our reality.
Right, absolutely. They shape, I mean, they shape everything about what we experience as reality. And I always like to use the word, even the relationship that we're having, with what we think is outside of us. There is a relationship that's constantly going on with, which is why you're able to say that you like things and you don't like, you like this and you don't like this. You have a judgment about everything because you're having an emotional relationship, a response to everything that you think is in your environment or that you perceive to be in your environment, and all of that ends up being supported by what we believe. There are things that you and I have come to understand, and it goes beyond belief now. Now it's a knowing, and then there are people who would look at us or listen to what we're saying and go, that makes no sense. They can't connect with that. So there's things that we understand, and and it's gone from belief to a knowing, and then you have people with these certain other kinds of beliefs that only allow them to operate within that frequency of their belief. So everything that they will interact with and understand, and that's across the board, I should say, with all of us. Everything that we interact with, experience, is all going to be within the framework of the frequency, the framework of our perception, which is based on our beliefs.
Right. Because I love the cosmic game that
Mm-hmm.
because it becomes fun when you can see the game for what it is. And I feel so many of us, we're taking life so seriously.
Very
Gosh, I've
seriously.
got to go to work. I've got to go
Mm-hmm.
to this church. I've got to go to this wedding. I've got to go to school. I've got to go to everywhere. We're always running away
Yeah.
from
Well,
ourselves, and
absolutely.
uh,
It's a distraction. It distracts you from it just distracts you. And then the thing is this, when we do those things though, it's like we when we understand, we can make them fun. We can most of all recognize that everything we're doing is choice. Everything that we just think that we have to do is by choice. And I always say, yes, going to work is a choice, even though you think, oh, well, if I don't go to work, I can't pay my rent. Okay, well, even living in a house or living under a roof is a
right,
choice. Having a shower every day is a choice. So I liked the idea, for me anyway, years ago, when I came to that realization, when I was working in the corporate world, when I came to that realization, because I so disliked it. I so hated going to work just because I didn't like the commitment, and I didn't like being told, well, you have to be in by a certain time, leave by a certain time. But you know what? I needed that discipline. When I went back into the corporate world, I realized when I was going back after not dealing with it for 11 years and working for myself, I knew that I was going back, and I viewed it as school. So I think we have to start taken a different interpretation of the experiences, the things that we interact with also in our life, and realize that we are having this experience for a reason. There's something that you're being gifted with from it. And one of the things for me with working was the day that I realized, wait a second, this is all choice. Nobody's making me do any of this. We tend to
right,
forget that
right.
nobody is
Yes,
you might
yes.
dislike your boss, you might dislike the people you work with, but guess what? Nobody is making you be there. You chose to be there, and there are people who will stay and they're miserable as opposed to going to look for maybe another job someplace else. And you know why they do that? Because they're not done with that experience. They are not
Yes.
done. It's become their well, it's their reality, yes, but they're there having that miserable time because of something, some sort of association in their belief system that is attracting that particular frequency, that particular reality construct
Right.
around the job or a relationship or whatever. And so we have to look at that there's a reason why you're still there. And when I got it, and I didn't get it to any extent that I understand it now, but when I got it enough, man, my life, things changed. My life changed when I realized, wait a second,
Yes.
I don't have to be here. Okay, what's the worst that could happen? Well, you could end up sleeping in your car. Okay, but it wouldn't kill me. I mean, I took it to that extent because I wanted to see what the conditions were that were holding me in my head. What were the real conditions? And we have to look at that. What are the conditions? These are
Right.
things that we're told. These are things we fear. Why? And when I did that, that was when I was now ready. It was like something, the voice said, okay, now you got it. Now you're ready. And then I was able to be there. And then I turned in my resignation. I didn't know where I was gonna go or what I was gonna do. But amazingly, when I turned in my resignation, of course they didn't want me to leave. At that moment, everything started falling into place. I got a phone call to teach lymphology. They asked me, please, could you stay until we find somebody to replace you. And even then, when they replace me, they asked me to stay and train the new accounting manager. But I was fine with it because now it was on my own terms and I was free. And it
Right.
gave me what I needed, the funds I was going to need for that long period of time. I had to finally ask them to let me go. They,
They
I
didn't want
go,
to let you go.
no, they didn't. Finally I
Right.
go, okay, I have to go now. I really have to go. And that's kind of basically what happened.
Well,
But
that the biggest thing is, we say on Infinite Waters, being free is your birthright, and when people can be free from religion, nationality, race, their whole life takes on a whole new meaning. But at the same time, up until that point, like you said, those programs serve a purpose to help us discover who we are. A
oh,
lot,
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people ask, how do we change these self-limiting beliefs, such as, these programs, which there's so many, or is there no
Right.
way? Like Christian Murdy says, there is no path to the truth.
Well, I think that that's kind of basically that is true. No, but I think what I find is it's not about spending your time trying to get rid of the programs. What you're doing is you're addressing each thing as they show up, as it shows up. You're addressing and you're adjusting and you're rewriting the program because in this body and in this reality, it is made up of programs. We do operate based on programs, and programs basically become it's more like rituals for us. We're very habitual creatures, and so it we naturally gravitate to stamping things into a ritual or a habit with no deviation. So what I've often said is when you recognize something about pattern, because a program is a pattern, when you recognize a pattern, you can either decide, you know what, I want to change that. Now, are you gonna look at it based on, oh God, you're beating up yourself, you just hate yourself, or it has nothing to do with that. It's a realization that maybe this pattern, this program no longer serves me. I get that that was how I was operating based on a belief system, and that belief system could come from family, could come from society, but you are consciously saying, you know what, I think I would like to change that. And you start working at it that way. You don't go to war with the program. You're not getting mad at it served its purpose. So now I'm here in this space, and I'm going to work at creating that change and whatever is attached to that change. And I like to also say that because it all becomes a habit. If you usually go left, we need to learn to go right sometimes, instead of being so stuck in one way. And that's right, that's across the board. So we tend to operate that way. And then what the reason why it's so important to bring latitude to who we are, and that's what I'm saying about the programs as well. You're bringing latitude, so it's not that what you understood does not hold a truth. You're going to expand on it now. You're going to make it more expansive. You're going to see another aspect of it now. So you can look at it that way. So you're not fighting it. It's like, okay, this is what I understood, especially in religion. This is the programming. Okay, well, there are some aspects of it here that I still resonate with, but oh, I'm seeing a bigger picture now. I don't have to be just this small Christian, this whole idea of being a Christian.
Right.
Greater works than these shall you do. Well, what could
Right.
that be? Let me expand on that. And you start creating new neural pathways in the brain. That makes such a difference because it starts to change your hormone flow, in your body. It starts to affect how you age. Your brain just sees something different. Your brain sees somebody who's here to live. Your brain says, "Oh my gosh, we are going to be here longer. We are not stuck in rituals that go nowhere and create nothing new, no new neural pathways. that's when you start shutting down. But when the brain realizes we're doing more, oh, we're not
Right,
done yet,
right.
then the whole body, the whole system has to then begin to do what it needs to do to accommodate, that kind of long life.
Right, right. For me, what I take from the cosmic game is that the humor in it, because I always say nature has a sense of humor. That's where we got it from after all.
I'm sorry, you
And
said what about the sense of humor?
I said, nature has a sense of humor. That's where we got it from after all.
Oh, yeah,
You
absolutely.
see, so
And
the
I get
humor
it.
of the cosmic game is that we're all living in different realities, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. We think we're all living in one collective reality, but
Absolutely.
everyone is seeing this thing in a whole different way, and that's part of the humor of it as well, because
I love it. Yeah,
even in the
absolutely.
awakening community, we don't even know what everyone is awakening to.
I know, but
and
everybody, you're right.
and a lot of us, we have friends and families, and they're also running a different program, and when we're talking to them, it's like it's very tough sometimes to even have an authentic conversation because they're operating on a whole nother program.
Oh yeah, there's a whole other frequency. And yeah, absolutely. And that's the reason why, I've often said that's why there's so much misinterpretation, and of course the wars and all that we have, is because I realized some years ago that we're not all hearing the same thing. People are picking up completely different frequencies from the words coming out of your mouth, and then they interpret it as something else, and you go, I didn't say that. And you can't understand how they came up with that. Probably how it hits their ear, the frequency is probably completely different, and it's interpreted as something completely different. So I think I started to look at that, and I started thinking, well, how do I know we're seeing color the same way? We don't know that we're seeing anything the same way. We all have our own unique version of reality. And it's interesting that you said that, because somebody had emailed me yesterday, because they had purchased Moving Beyond the Frequency of Doubt, and a bunch of the other 6 months workshops. And in it, I had mentioned that article that I wrote actually in 2010. And I think it was, oh God, it was your private reality, your private universe. I forgot what the first couple of words were, but anyway, that was in the title. And so I was thinking about that yesterday. I thought, God, I should repost that. That I should repost that. Regarding your private reality, your private universe, because you are living in your own private reality based on your beliefs and your perceptions. You're filtering it through your perception, and everything else that comes to meet you, this relationship I spoke about with what we view as external reality, is only coming towards you based on the construct of your reality. Whatever the however you wrote your script for your reality, everything you interact with and everyone is only part of it, because something in your script requires, all of these kinds of relationships. And that includes jobs, again, romantic relationships,
Right.
friendships, all of those things. So yeah, interesting.
Well, that's so true because what I've come to see is that we all have a story and we are the writer of the story. But what's happened for so many of us, someone has been writing our story for us. And the wake up
Yeah,
moment comes when you take back your power. You stop
right.
externalizing power. And then you don't blame anybody. You don't want to fight anyone. You just disconnect and you find so much joy just working for yourself, like I know you do.
Yeah, and there is joy. I tell you, that's definitely, well, that in itself was a journey too, making that transition. Anyway, but I at the time I had committed to that transition, and I think I was pretty ready to even, pitch a tent. Sleep in
Right,
in
right.
the tent, um, because that's just kind of where I was at that moment. So there were definitely a lot of um, challenges. Even when I did the radio show, when I started Sovereign Mind Radio, uh, it was so funny because I I had walked away from everything, as I mentioned a number of times before. My condo, I put everything in storage, and I had run out of money. Now I understand how that works now, but anyway, but at the time, that's how it appeared anyway, that I ran out of money. We're talking run out of money to the point of like you finding a quarter and you're happy. You find 25 cents and it was you were happy.
Right.
And so I had to finish the book. But anyway, the point of the matter is that I ended up eventually saying, okay, well, I'm going to do the show. And I'd never done a radio show before. And I remember I would sit in this room because now I gave up my spot and who I'd moved in with. Anyway, I had to I sat on the bed and I put my laptop and on top of a box. That's how I used to do the radio show. I
Right.
set it
Right.
on top of a box, and I would do the radio show then. So you know what? It was very interesting the whole process. I knew that it would not last forever, but it was definitely a growing process and a realization that I was restructuring my life, or my life was being restructured, and and everything was sort of bulldozer down, torn down, and the building. What's funny is when I had moved there, there was a building across the street that was the day I got there. I think the very next day they tore down this whole apartment complex, completely tore it down. And Ralph, I kid you not, I knew I eventually started to realize that that was very symbolic of me, that that building and I, whatever was construction, whatever was going to replace it, was really a reflection of what was going on with me. And I watched them tear it down, clear out the place, put a new foundation, and they started to build these beautiful condos there. And would you believe it? When the condos were done, and it took maybe 2 3 years. I think it took a while, a couple years. It was pretty long. When the condos were done, my life was changing. When they finally were opened it, because we went over there and looked. When they finally opened it, is when I was moving also, and this grand change was happening in my life. So that building and I knew that. But we can look around in our lives with our cars, with things going on in the house. If your house stuff starts breaking up down in your house, all those things are very symbolic of what's actually going on in your personal reality, in your
Right.
life.
Right. Because I saw your lecture, You're Living in a Virtual Reality, which was spectacular as well, because a lot of us, we just accept the world how it is,
Hmm.
just what we can see with our five senses. And when we realize there's more going on, even on the electromagnetic spectrum, we realize that what we're seeing is only a small amount of what's taking place and how much more is going on.
Yeah, so much behind the scenes. There's so much going on. And we're not interacting with all of everything else that's going on because it's only relevant according to what our story is at that time.
Right,
It's only
right.
relevant according to what we need to understand and the changes that we need to make in our lives and the stories that we need to tell ourselves, and you
Yes.
know and all of these things. So we can just stop and just start looking at that. And that was a workshop I did a while back where
Right.
everybody kind
But
of.
do you think that as well? Because what I've come to see is that the human being is super powerful. And I
Oh
feel that's
yeah.
why there are so many distractions. Because if you leave a human being alone in nature, then they're going to start tapping in to all of that information in the soil, in nature, and they're going to be
Right.
downloading the
Mm-hmm.
frequencies, and they're going to be
Right.
picking up all kinds of information. In essence, they're going to be able to see a bit more beyond the veil. And I feel that's why there's so much on the TV, the
Well, it's
corporations,
all
the
distractions.
big
Yeah.
distraction, because human beings are truly powerful.
Well, that's the reason why we created this, though, and that's the whole thing.
Right,
We created a reality or a concept that was going to be as limited as possible, and I think we have to understand that is that this is part of it. The absolute limitation, or you think anyway, you have the illusion then of being limited and experiencing that. And some people, that's just what they need to experience, right now in this life for them. And I think that's something that we are challenged by, because a lot of times people want to see everybody just come into the same awareness that they've come into, and
right,
it's like we're all free agents. Everybody is here, like a virtual vacation. Everybody's here. You buy your you buy your ticket, and or what did you get? Did you get the package where where you get to
right,
you go on the poverty ride, you go on the rich ride. I mean, what does your package entail? And it's not that you can't change it. You can change your package at any time. You can do whatever you want to do with it. But the game is as such, as you said, because we're such masters. We're such magicians. We're such amazing creators that whatever we put our focus in on, we are stuck on it. We are gonna dream that dream forever. We just
right,
on that dream, that story, and that's how we actually make things, make those particles seem to stick or seem to be static. It's the focus, it's the observer effect. You're observing everything about your life into this illusionary sort of static experience, like it's non-fluctuating, and that's how profound we are. That's what makes a particle appear to be there. That's why when you're not observing it, is anything there when we're not
right,
observing any of
right,
it.
right,
So it is very, very profound. But I think one of the things for me that was also very freeing was recognizing the beauty in the whole experience. And I really fell in love with the reality. I mean, I really have just loved it. So there are people that do feel like, oh, I don't feel like I belong here. I don't want to be here. But I don't feel that way because I see the game. And so I think it's
right,
funny. It kicks ass at
right,
times, but there is humor, and that's why laughter, and yes, people say, God, you laugh so much. Well, it is funny. And
you have to, yeah,
laughter, yeah, laughter, when we take everything seriously, it's that same thing again. It's the observer. It's you make it static. You make it have the appearance of static. It's you taking it seriously, giving somebody advice, they ask for it, and then they go, yeah, but because they don't want that. They want to stick with their story. They're not done. So that's why they go, yeah, you're right, but, and they go right back to
right back, yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it is. So we have to understand the beauty in the whole human game. That's part of what frees us. It's not disliking the game, it's not hating it, it's not trying to escape it. No, it's realizing its purpose and your role in what you have created and how you view it, and then you begin to be free, because what? You're freeing yourself with loving this place, with love.
right, right. And as well, we have to see that whatever we're thinking, we are creating, and just by our,
Yes.
we are really co-creators,
Mhm.
and that's the power we have. We are, like you said in one of your articles, we are the power plant for the reality we're creating. So
Absolutely.
it's just amazing. As you change, the whole world changes around you.
Mhm.
And a lot of us, once we realize that secret, we free ourselves, because a lot of us are in the survival mode, and we don't even realize that we are fueling this system by complaining about it. We are creating it. We
Well,
are
yeah, that's
creating
how
all
it
of the
is.
mess because we are the
Absolutely.
mess, you know.
Absolutely. The power comes from you. I mean, that's why the media is as it is because, you have to stir fear. Fear is fuel, it's energy. You have to stir people's emotions, whether they're going to give you a happy story of, a cat in a tree and the fireman gets it and we're all, oh, I mean, your emotions are being just sort of manipulated to some degree. It's sort of regulated. And then you go from the cat story to 10 shot dead. And then you're just, so you're just all in a flux. You're up and down. But the
Right.
point is, watching the news is like watching a reality show. And I don't watch the news, but I'll hear when they give you, breaking news, coming. And I start laughing. See, a lot of people would just be so mad at me, but I start laughing at the fact that they say things like, we were the first to bring you breaking news, when 9/11, and it is, and you hear that whole theatrical
Right.
process. We were the first to bring you, and then there was something yesterday that we heard. Oh my God, yes. I was watching some movie, and then the commercial came on, and they were talking about something happening in San Diego. This guy, I couldn't believe they said that. They said, yes, there seems to be whatever, some a guy, they didn't say guy, but an individual then, robbing and raping his way through southern to San Diego. I'm like, no, they didn't just say that. Somebody's robbing and raping their way through San Diego.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God.
More
Oh,
entertainment.
I was like, how can you even
Yeah.
take any of that seriously? It's all theater, and the stations are competing, for ratings and who's bringing you the craziest, most fearful information first.
Right.
We brought it to you first. We terrified you first. That's kind of basically what it
Right.
is. And then you get addicted to that, and then you stabilize that reality. They've
Because
constructed it for you.
right. Because for me, as I see the cosmic game, is that there are so many levels to it, and I feel that we are the power, but at the same time, throughout the ages, there has been secret information about how
Right.
the human being operates, and I definitely feel there's hierarchy all throughout the universe, and
Oh yeah.
and that also transcends into information. So if this is a cosmic game, a lot of us are being taken on a ride.
Oh
You
yeah,
see,
but you paid for
and
it.
it's almost being done on purpose. And once you can see through it, then it no longer affects you, but it's there because it's serving a purpose to help you evolve.
Absolutely. You paid for it. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and because I've often said this too, in terms of when people go, yeah, don't buy into that. And I think we have to start listening to what we say, because that's what we do. We buy into what we're being told, we're buying into, and listen to the words. It's buy. You're purchasing. You are purchasing, or doing a buy-in like in the stock market. And what are you buying into it with? With your life force,
Right,
with your energy, your emotions, all of that. Your energy is what you use to purchase the experience. You say, you know what? I think I'm going to buy into that. I'm going to get right in on that, and that's what you use to get your buy-in, is your life force. It's your
right,
your the energy that comes from you, and that's where you are the power plant, because everything in your reality is supported by you. It is plugged in to you, just like you plug a plug into the wall socket. Everything in your reality has to be plugged into you. That's where it gets its power from, is from you.
right. You wrote recently, our government, religious systems, spiritual and business structure, monetary structure, and educational structures are like software programs designed to run this version of reality according to the timeline set for our timed evolution of humans. I found that profound because when we talk of money and when we talk of time, These are
Hmm.
the two things that people need more of. There's not
Right.
enough hours right now on the planet. As soon as you
Hmm.
wake up, it seems like the evening has just arrived. And
Yeah.
when we talk of money, a lot of us, there seems never to be enough money. We're always in the pursuit of money.
Right. Right. There's that's wow. Anyway, yeah, no, no, but there's a lot that was embedded in that those three lines of that statement that you just read. There was a lot of actually a lot of information, a lot of science that is actually embedded in those four lines. And yes, time and money, that's why they say time is money. Because we those are two things that we view as running out. Those two things, we always think money is running out, and we always think time is running out. And the truth of it is, neither one really runs out. Neither one can run out. What we have, however, is um, money. I remember a few years ago, I always laugh and I say that. I remember when money said to me, the energy of money said to me, I am always here. I am always available. I am ever flowing. However, I only appear to you, I only appear in your life according to what you need to experience. And that was ever so profound to me. And you know what? And I proved that certainly to be true. Money is available to us in the whatever the various experiences that we're having, from poverty to what we would define as riches, according to the experience, the stories associated with it, according to the experience that we still need to have. Now, um we think that we go to work for money. So that was another thing I came to realize. We think that we go to our jobs because we go there to make money, but that's really not the truth. The money is the catalyst. It's the experience that you have when you are there. That's really why you're there. You just think we go there for the money, but that's not it. It's the experience that you're having when you're there. And that, because you may still need to have whatever that story is. Look at your job and situation and your career and all of that. You start looking at what how that story has played. How has it played out in terms of the people you interact with, the complaints that you have, you're not recognized, or you're not getting your promotion, or you don't feel worthy, or listen to all of your complaints about the job, and what you will realize is those are things deep down that are trying to show themselves to you. These are programs deep down that are trying to show themselves to you. And if we see them and we get them, then the monetary thing changes. But see, the money can't change, not in the way you think. Like, you're suddenly, people just suddenly sometimes aren't going to be rich because it doesn't support their story. It doesn't support your story. And so the money, you only have money, enough money, according to whatever the story is that you need to play out. You get some
Right,
people who are
right,
rich, and then they're doing drugs, or they take their life. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but you look at these stories and you see the reason why they had the money is because that's the story that they need to play out. Now, it
right,
doesn't mean we can't be wealthy, but it's being able to get into that space, a different kind of space of wealth, where your objective is not about the money, because you suddenly get it and you suddenly realize, and then it starts to flow, or it starts to come into your life. But it's the
right,
stories, and the stories that you are actually living through. That's really what it is, and that's
right.
really
Well,
the
that's so
catalyst.
powerful because when I was reading that, it just made me remember that I am wealth. And you've said
Hmm.
before, we are the currency we're working for, which is fantastic. And when people also realize that it's just a tool, a lot of these things, and it depends what you want, going back to the storyline. If it's in your story that you need to have five Ferraris, then that's what you're going to work to get it.
Hmm.
If it's in your
Hmm.
story to see that you have everything you need without money, then that's your story, you see. So it's amazing how these concepts can take a hold when they're really illusionary.
Absolutely. And you'll get, I know, because I also learned one of the things that I've shared or taught in the spending your life, changing your perception of time and money workshop is that there's no such thing as making money. That
Mm,
was crazy. But that you can't, that you really couldn't make money. You really didn't make money. Money is just, it's an energy. It's just, it's a value representation. That's really all it is. It's a value representation, and you don't make money because it's
right,
always there. It's like a faucet that's just forever open. It's current. That's why it's called currency. It's a current, and it flows and it streams, and the system, our governmental system, regulates that and give us a program of what we should identify increments of money as. And then what we're dealing with are frequencies. The $20, it's got a $20 whatever that frequency
right,
is,
right,
but that's all you're dealing with is these increments, these frequency increments, and somebody has told us what our limitations are and what $20 represents and the limitation of $20. It's all programs. It's all
right,
programs. And so
right,
there's this great science to really understanding that, and then of course being able to now begin to transcend it. Now you got to look at the stories that programs that you've come with around money from your parents, from all these different situations socially, and those are the stories that we end up living through. All
right.
these stories we end up living through. So I had to see, those things for myself as well in terms of my the money. What is it that's happening? Is what I often said. When things aren't what you want them to be. Like, say for example, you're like, oh my God, I'm short. I got to pay my rent. I'm short. Okay, well, what is the story here? The story is, okay, why you're short on your rent. Now there's a story that's embedded in being short on the rent. That's really
Mm,
what you look at. That's really what frees up the money. It's not the going to get the money. You can go borrow it, you can do this, but I guarantee you that story keeps playing in different ways until you are able to break it apart and you go, "Oh, there's a pattern here. There's something in here. I see it now. I get it." And then that starts to change it. And so that story becomes irrelevant now. There's no pattern left there for it. And so you
right,
move on to something else. So it's all a really unique divine science.
right,
It's
right,
simple, but because of our programming about social protocols and the way that we should think of money and the way that we should think of success and failure and the standards set for being a good person or not a good person or being an upstanding citizen. We have all these protocols that are
right,
wired into all of us. To some degree, all of us have bits and pieces of it, and that's what you're working with. It's somebody else's design, somebody else's made up programs and protocols that we all have agreed to. This is what is it's going to be human. These are the conditions. Oh, okay, sign on the dotted line. Well, now I
right,
want to rip
and
up that contract
right, and we have to remind ourselves this has been going on for a long time,
for a
a
long
long
time.
time, and that's why I
Long
feel
time.
the programs are so strong, and a lot of people feel they can, collectively we can just wake up from it, but it's going to take a long time because it's taken a long time for us for the programs to be installed. So,
Well, individually, I think that to me, that's what I saw is the individual. When the individual starts to ask these profound questions, as I say, it's the questions. When the individual starts to question and the individual is ready to own themselves and to be responsible for themselves and not look outside so much to the system and the this and the that, but to,
right,
when we're ready to own ourselves, I think that begins to make a drastic change, and I think that's how we start impacting what reality looks like and sending a ripple throughout that whole external
Right.
reality experience. So the individual has to wake up, and a lot of the New Age movement, I know they tend to put everybody, the collective, to say that, it's like we all have to wake up at the same time. And no, we don't all have to wake up at the same time. Buddha didn't, Joshua didn't. There's a bunch of other people we don't talk about
Right.
that we didn't hear that they had to follow the group. They had to wait, regardless of whether we believe those stories or not. That's not the point. The point is that even in the stories, if they're illusion, they didn't tie them to any collective group that they had to wait
Right.
on.
Right. Because that's so amazing you said that, because a lot of these collective programs, if we're not careful, they can affect us. But once you take that individual journey, then they don't affect you. Because when we talk of your latest profound work, the upcoming documentary, The Business of Disease, when we talk of immortality, and I know you've talked of that before, a lot of people I talk to just say, well, it's a fact that everyone is going to die at, you know, a
Well, it's
hundred
their fact.
years, and it's just amazing when I'm hearing this and I'm saying, wait a minute, because this is just a program as well. We don't
It
even know
is.
how long we can really live if we're placed in the right environment
Yeah,
where
there is
we're
no expiration date.
right.
There really is none. I mean, the whole concept of reality as we know reality to be is really just all made up. And for me, when I realized that, I thought, oh my God, I mean, I had to sit with that. For what I did, I had to
Right.
sit with it.
Take a
And
glass of water.
it took me a couple of days of just going, you mean all this stuff is really made up? And that was just from inside myself. It was boom, this one day when it just all opened up to me. And now to hear other people talking about it and saying, even Dr. Jenny Lloyd, that I interviewed, that it's all a program. The whole idea of death is a program. And I think what people fear, and Dr. Rapai as well, I
But
think
in
what
what way? Because people may ask, okay, well, everyone they're seeing will die eventually. They don't
well,
know anyone who has lived over 300 years. Or,
you
so,
go, because if you're living that long, why am I going to be hanging out with you?
right, right. That's
So
true.
that's the other thing. We have to understand that, again, when we go back to what we said earlier about reality, the fact that reality, what we draw to us and how reality looks, is based on our own beliefs and our perception and all of that. We are shaping that, and we are only going to deal with a reality that is one that is familiar, and that connects with our perceptual boundaries, the boundaries that we have set. So yeah, there's a whole lot that we don't see. The illusion that we're provided with, though, is the fact that we know what the whole world is. That is the illusion, that we think that the whole world, as defined, that everybody is living the same experience. We don't know what the whole world is. And I've often said this. We don't know the whole world. The idea was what we have. We have an idea, we have a concept of what the whole world is. And how do you know that? I'm not making it up. Why? Because since you can't experience the whole world, it's brought to you in images, in pictures, in videos. Somebody brings you these ideas of what's going on in the world and present it to you. You really don't know. You're not
Right,
there. Somebody's
right.
giving you a video, somebody's giving you some pictures. We look in a magazine, oh, Tahiti, that's so beautiful. Until I am there, Tahiti is just a concept. It's just an idea to me. Until I am there interacting with it, that's when it's real for me. So
Right.
the fact is that we do not know what the whole world is. The world that we know, I tell you what the whole world is for us. The whole world for us is our immediate interaction. The people and the situations and the everything we see in our environment, that's all that is viable for us, that we can that validate as the world. This is what our
Right.
whole world is only with what we're interacting with at that moment in our environment. Outside of that, somebody's telling you what the rest of the world is, and that's where the media comes in, and movies and so on and so forth, because it's entertaining. We are being entertained
Right.
in terms of what the rest of the world could be. So if people are living 1,000 years or 2,000 years, you would not know this. You would
Right,
not know this
right,
because you've been told that we are all living based on this birth to death program. And you know what? That birth to death program is relevant for people with that program. It is very relevant for those who still hold that program. But as we begin to awaken and realize more about the science of the body, the brain, how everything operates, how everything functions, we start to understand. It opens up possibilities, and we go, oh, I get it, why it's
right.
possible. And you begin to step into into a different realm. And finally, it's not that you're not interacting with other people on a regular people, as you would say, but you begin to operate in within those fields without having to tell anybody anything. So if somebody were 300 years old or 1,000 years old, they probably wouldn't say anything to you because they know that your perceptual base boundaries would not allow for it. So you don't know who walks among you. You have we have no idea who walk among us. And when you think about it, Ralph, how many times have you gone to maybe events, maybe maybe if you work for a company where I go and I have a good time, hanging out with lots of people who don't have a clue about what I talk about. And it
Right,
doesn't matter because I am out, I'm having a good time, I'm dancing, I'm having fun, I'm listening to
right.
music, and I'm just
That's so
and
true.
yeah, and I'm part of that
Yes.
experience. They have no idea how whacked up.
Right. How whacked up we all are.
They have
Right.
no idea. So yeah, you don't, and you're stepped out of that. You don't need to debate anybody. You don't need to convince anybody. That's when you step back and you see the game and you can appreciate where everybody is in the game. And that's how I feel. And I love them. I love it. I
Wow.
get to look and I'm thinking, wow, this is so fascinating because this person is completely submerged in this 3D, all the way submerged, but I'm
Right.
still enjoying them. I don't
Right.
need to tell them. I don't need to tell them what I believe or doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right. That's so profound that you said that because everyone is having a unique experience based on their own vibration. And
Yeah.
what was your main purpose? What is your main purpose for creating the upcoming work, The Business of Disease? Because I feel a lot of us, we're getting ill
Yeah.
prematurely, unnecessarily. And once you tap into this sort of information, you just get 100% wellness. Your whole body, like we said before, your whole DNA changes. You feel healthier, feel
Right.
happier.
Yeah. Well, it started out based on that article I wrote, The Marketing of Breast Cancer, a few years back. Excuse me. And that's really what it was. I personally, at the time, I really got kind of tired of being asked if I wanted to contribute to breast cancer, and it was just so marketed, so over marketed, that I decided to write an article on it, and not expecting the kind of response that came from it, from
Right.
even people who have had breast cancer, who were so appreciative of the article. And so that was really what inspired that. And I thought, maybe it would be kind of cool to put together a film, not thinking that anything of this magnitude. I just thought it'd be great to interview a few people and videotape it. Is basically what happened, and then it just started to turn into something else. It just kind of took on a life of its own and started shaping itself. It's from the perspective not of this is what the pharmaceutical company is doing and just beating up on that, because I think that's we have had enough of that. But it's more from the perspective of what's possible for the body in the right conditions, what's possible for you as a human being, understanding how our emotions impact our experiences, our lives, just really, and some of the cutting edge science that's available, cutting edge tools, and just that whole inner technology. And so I wanted to come from that standpoint, and so that's why I brought in like Dr. Gwazami, from the quantum physics aspect. I wanted to make it take it to a whole other level that hadn't been done before, we just hear enough about what's being done to us. Okay, okay, I get that.
Right.
So what do you do about it?
What are
And the
the
healthcare,
solutions?
yeah, and the
Right, right.
healthcare issues and everybody fighting for, the healthcare. And I'm thinking, well, geez, what about caring for yourself? Why aren't we, people being encouraged to care for themselves and to not be so programmed for sickness? And so it does say on the one sheet, it says our Americans programmed for sickness and death. And people are programmed for sickness and death. And we see it on the commercials that always tell you, automatically if you're between the ages of 50 and 80, or if you're between the
Right.
ages of, they're always telling you. And I love the commercials where they show either the life insurance commercials or somebody, a senior as they call them, that have fallen and they can't get up, so they've got to get life alert or some
Mm,
you know and it's like, wow. And I went hiking the other day, and I never carry my phone. I just don't. I just never have. When I go hiking or anything that I'm doing with nature, I don't want to know anything about what's going on because I'm out here. I cannot help you. Whatever it is you need, I
right.
can't help you because I'm out here. So I just don't take the phone. And so these ladies that I always see, we were talking just very briefly, and they're like, "Gosh, you never take your phone. Oh, you should carry your phone. It's kind of dangerous. You should carry your phone." And I said to them, "Well, what happened when we didn't have the phones?" you know and
Right.
and and I had a situation where I got stuck on, I didn't get stuck, but I kind of got ridiculous, and I love trails, so I climbed this one trail that was like way up, and then I was gonna go down this other side, and it was real steep, and when I got started, the dirt was moving under my feet, and so I knew if one wrong move and I was gonna roll probably 200 feet. And so I was talking to them about that, and that's kind of what happened. And so they were like, "Well, what happened if you had rolled?" And I was like, "Then I would have just rolled. I would have been just at the bottom of the hill."
Wow.
But it's
Well,
just a lot of fear, a lot of fear.
it is fantastic what you're doing, and I definitely support your work 100% because we go back, and it's just amazing when you can get people who are open and who are not afraid of diving deep to
Yeah.
the uncharted waters. And there's just so much happening right now. It's always been happening anyway, but
Hmm.
it's just fantastic to see what you're doing. But just as we're winding down, I just want to ask you five quick questions.
Oh, five. Okay.
Five, what I'll do is I'll say something and you just have to finish the
Hmm.
sentence. So, the greatest way to overcome fear is.
Oh boy, I feel like I'm at school now. The greatest way to
Anything that pops
overcome,
into your head.
what pops into my head, the greatest way to overcome fear is to, I believe, to face it. You have to look at what it is that you're afraid of and dig into it, dive into it, which is what I've always preached. You
Right.
dive into it, and then you realize a lot of times there really is nothing there.
Okay. If you feel like giving up, just remember.
Just remember that you're online. You're always online. You're never disconnected. You are always part of this amazing, cosmic internet, and that everything is really available to you. And it's just a story at this moment that you're telling yourself.
Okay. Love is.
Allowing. Love is, to me, that's what it is. That means you're allowing everybody to be who they are without trying to impose your views on them. You're just allowing.
I love that. People judge other people because.
Um, I think it makes them, I think it makes us feel better when we can look at somebody and say, look at what they're doing. We're not doing that. It just makes us feel better about ourselves. And it's also a distraction because then you can focus on what they could do to fix themselves as opposed to yourself.
Okay. If humanity continues like this, we will end up.
If humanity continues like this, we will I don't know. They'll just end up continuing like this.
Excellent. That's what I was thinking. We'll just keep going round and round.
We're not gonna, energy, as they say, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but can transform, from one form to the other. So, I don't think, we have to fear anything. Whatever happens with the individual, it's okay. You always live in some form or another. You always exist.
Wow. Well, it's been so amazing for you to dive into Infinite Waters. I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And for everyone out there, go to www.spiritinform.com. Be blown away. Amazing, life changing information that will empower you, that will inspire you. But thank you so much, Sonia.
Well, I thank you, and I also have to say thank you for the work that you're doing. You are just being you and sharing and experiencing, and I love that because I see you enjoying everything that you do. And that's what this is about. It's not about trying to save other people, but it is about expressing your joy and your passion for your own personal evolution.
Well, thank you. And we would love for you to dive again if you're
Oh,
open
I'd
to
love
that.
it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And to everyone else out there, continue to dive deep. Infinite waters. Diving deep once again. Stay well, stay healthy. Peace.